Let's say you're an accountant or an attorney or a pharmacist, and all of a sudden you had to relocate to Mexico City. And everything you work with now is in Spanish. You don't know any Spanish. So what would be the best way to do this? I mean, you could take two approaches. You could say, well, I'm going to learn Spanish. I'll pick up some books and tapes. I'll go to a Spanish course, and I'll pick up the language, and then I'll go do my work. Or you would say, well, let me start reading material in Spanish, and I'll kind of pick it up as I go. I try to follow patterns, and one consistent pattern of almost all the children who didn't do well in school was the fact that they never acquired the basic learning tools, the language, to be able to succeed.
Somebody who ran a Mesivta for the last 19 years, Mesivta and Beis Medrash, these skills are critical for the education of every Talmud in the Yeshiva. It's literally crippling not to have this understanding.
I'm in the forensics business. Parents call me every night from around the world, and I'm presented with a train wreck. My child is out of school. My child isn't interested in learning. My child has been asked to leave from 5 different schools already. It's an educational train wreck, and I am being asked to figure out where did this start and how can we fix this? By far, the number one reason that children aren't making it in school is because they don't have language.
When I learned, the only way I would know another word in another parsha is if I heard it enough times and recognized it, so I would recognize it again and can put it in. With these booklets that Torah Umesorah has put together, the first grade Rabbeim did a wonderful job in taking it to break down the shorashim, the prefixes, the suffixes, so then they know they can take any word, they can take any shorash, and they can apply it anywhere else.
If I look back at my education, what I hear in my ears is my Rebbe saying the word again and again and again. And it was all Chinese. It was all trying to memorize things that I didn't really have an understanding.
Now we'll do denoting.
When I started the yeshiva 13 years ago, the very first thing that I wanted to do was to see to it that we had a skill-based program where we would teach the children how to learn, because language is so important. In doing a lot of research and speaking to dozens of principals and hundreds of rabbeim and moras and teachers, what I found was that there were individual pockets of excellence. But they basically were all working on their own. There really wasn't a system where you can export this, so to speak, and just say, give me one of those. A package that you can give a teacher and just a rebbe and just say, go, here, take this. Just like you have in the secular world, if somebody wants to purchase a math program, a first grade math teacher, you just call up Scott Forsman or any of the other companies and say, hi, send it over. And that is teacher's edition, it's a workbook, there's a textbook, there are tests there. You know, my vision is to create a new generation of Limudei Kodesh materials. We actually developed this Chumash program over the course of 12 years. Rabbi Ravitsky, whose material it was, and is just an extraordinarily talented young man. He and I worked on it, developing it. It looks really simple, but like all simple things, you know, a tremendous amount of work and love and effort and feedback went into this. This program is really a hybrid of the typical cheder yeshiva experience, where there's a certain niggin, the sing-song chant that we've had for many, many generations, probably going back 1,000 years or more. And we certainly don't tinker with any of that. We use a regular Chumash. It's meant as a supplement to a Chumash, not to replace the Chumash. But what we do is, as we're beginning to learn Chumash, we introduce the difference between nouns and verbs, and every one of the prefix and suffix that are used. And then you're off to the races.
It's basically what we've been doing all along, but in a much more structured process.
The program consists of the following. There's a translation sheet. And as you see by looking at the translation sheet, there's a different color, a different shade for nouns and for verbs. And the noun and verb is highlighted in the actual words of the pasuk. So you can see the root word as they point them out to the children as you go. And throughout the Chumash, we use a variety of prefixes and suffixes with a different type of font so that it's recognizable to the student, to the Talmud, or Talmidah, to be able to make that connection. It's meant to be learned from a Chumash, but using that sheet as an educational tool. There are basically 3 worksheets that the Psukim all have. And the first worksheet is a vocabulary list, so to speak, a list of the Shorashim and what they mean in English. The second one is a homework sheet where the prefix and suffix are highlighted in a different font, and they have to actually color them in. There's a color code on the bottom of the page that directs the children's attention. You know, kids love to color, which crayon to use, blue for this prefix and orange for another prefix, so it just makes it a little more fun for the kids. And the third sheet is taking those Shorashim, let's say Amar means to say, which you learned in homework sheet number 1, and now I'd like to plug that into the actual pasuk that I learned. The pasuk said, Vayomer, and he said, what that last homework sheet does, and say, hey, that Vayomer is the same Shorish that I learned 2 homework sheets ago in Amar. And it's also a visual. 70% of people learn best visually.
I'm a parent of 5 boys that went through this system. And Rabbi Ravitsky's methodology of breaking down the language skills of Lashon Kodesh to the Talmidim is extremely unique. And the kids, literally in first grade, have an understanding that many adults don't have.
I don't look at a pasuk and break down what are these words in the Shorashim. I just recognize things from the past. Now that I'm learning with my son this way, I'm actually breaking down things in my own learning, and it helps me tremendously as an adult.
It's a delight to go through classes and see the children excited and using the flashcards and acquiring language.
Everyone should have 8 flashcards on the desk.
Rabbeim have on the wall a list of nouns that they've learned and a list of verbs. I regularly stop first and second graders in the hallway and say, tell me some Shorashim. Read the Shorashim on this page and tell me what they mean, please, okay?
Hashem Shana, 90 years. Seisha Shana, 9 years.
And which Shorish is that? Point to the Shorish. Shana. Good. And the next line has, what's the Shorish in the next line?
Mishafei.
And that means?
Appeal, walk, see, vision.
So many words for one thing. Well, what does it mean in this pasuk?
Hashem appeared.
Appeared. You want a challenge? Oh, give you 1 second. Rebbe does this to give you a challenge? Yeah, would you like to do it without it? Go ahead.
I am Avram said, El Sarai, Tu Sarai, Hine, behold, Suffixes, your man, but your death is in your head. I see you, what did to her? I tell you what is good, Beinacha, in your eyes. But in your eyes. Fact now, sorry, I'm sorry, I made her suffer. Fact, you reckon to run away. Me, Panaha, from her.
That was great. Can you do this with all the psukim?
Yeah.
Hey, how well do you think you know your Chumash?
Good.
Yeah? Was learning Chumash fun this year?
Yeah.
Yeah? What was fun about it?
You got to learn new words.
How many new words did you learn?
A lot.
How many? How many do you think? 5, 10, 20?
100.
100, really? And you know them all? Really? As I started the yeshiva, I went to many gedolim to discuss this with them. And when we went to Rav Oba, who was just an extraordinary mechanech and educator, and I said, Rav Oba, what happens if I pick up an educational concept, I read about something that's research-based and really very logical, and I say, well, we haven't been doing it like this. So what's with the Messiah? So he said, your Messiah, Rabbi Yaakov, is to take every educational tool that you know and adapt it so that one more child can learn Torah. Our tradition is that we want our children to love learning, and to the extent that they love learning and the extent that they love their experience in school, they'll love Yiddishkeit, they'll love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they'll love their parents, they'll love their family, they'll love the Rabbanim. So we have an obligation as parents, especially in these times, as parents, as educators, as community members, as people who are investing charity money and tzedakah money into promoting excellence in Jewish education. Everyone has a part in this to see to it that our children have every chance to succeed in school.